Good afternoon, everyone. It's Dan Kavanagh here. We'll be making a start in a couple of moments' time, just waiting for a few more attendees to join. I'll just do a quick bit of housekeeping. You can see on the right there, you've got a chat box which you can interact with as we go. If the slides are a bit small or some of them are a bit faint, you can always close the chat box, which will enlarge the screen for yourselves. I'll just go through a bit more housekeeping. Hello, yeah, getting plenty of messages on the chat. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be keeping this to about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. We will be sending this out as a presentation afterward. We'll also do an FAQ for 10-15 minutes, however long we may need at the end of the session. Also, if you want to at the end arrange a direct call or something, that can also be achieved. We're just nearing capacity. I take it everyone can hear me okay. All right. Let's make a start then. So again, thanks for joining us. This is obviously almost an emergency session about how you can adapt your internet marketing strategy for COVID-19. We're unusually going to step outside of purely the internet as well to see what other options might be available to you. As we're all well aware, these are unprecedented times. So the topics I'm going to cover are how has COVID-19 affected your business and affected you? You know, I hope that everyone is safe and well, and your family, friends, colleagues are also coping with this. I imagine that the majority of you are probably working from home, as I am. So there's been quite an adjustment period for everyone. So it's not just about how COVID is affecting business, but how personally we're getting on. So we're going to touch on some of those aspects as well, because people's how it's affecting us day to day is also affecting our consuming habits, which I'll obviously go into in a bit of detail. So we'll cover what marketing channels are still open to you during this crisis, what you can do right now to alter your strategy, and what options you may have now and in the future. As I say, if you get on the live chat, I will keep one eye on it. If there's a commonality of questions, I'll just jump out and I'll just field those as we go, although that is multitasking. I'll give it my best shot. So as I say, this is unprecedented times for us all. There is been the ripples of this. I think we're only just beginning to see the magnitude of. But my general view on it is that out of times like this, there are always opportunities that develop. But obviously, we're dealing with quite an emotive, a very serious topic. So let's just tackle how COVID-19 is affecting your business right now. We've got a large breadth of clients in different sectors offering different services. Some are e-commerce, some are service related, some are purely into brand awareness. But I imagine that you may all slot into one of these categories, which is your business is either closed or you're on a hiatus. Your core product or service is no longer sought after. So the consistency of the building blocks of your business has disappeared. Or your customers are cancelling contracts, dropping them down, or are just not buying the products in bulk or in part that they were previously buying. There may be one or two of you who luckily are far from affected adversely, are actually flying along at this time. But we've been thinking about, having spoken to a lot of our clients, and assessing the sort of mood, as well as matching that up to search patterns, we think you're probably falling into one of these four types, these categories. And it's important for us to understand where you might be at any point over these. We at Ignition here have already transited through triage and through an assessment period, and currently our viewers as sort of pivoting. Now, let me just explain what I mean by these top level headers. So for triaging, you're currently focused on cash flow, operational and business continuity right now. In terms of assessing, you might be in reasonable shape, but are very uncertain about what the coming weeks and months may mean for your business and for you. If you're pivoting, you're already seeing a shift in the business model that poses both challenges and offers opportunities to you. If you're investing, then you're in a position to expand customer relationships, provide help to new audiences and markets and customers in the current time of need. And I'm just going to expand into each of these areas, because this is going to help us build up an impression of where you are now and which of these categories your customers might also fall into. So in terms of triaging, what we're advocating here is invest in marketing only if it generates positive cash flow in the next 30 to 60 days. There will be profitable customers looking for you 24/7. You've got to make sure that you can find them. So this might mean that you are having to identify your most profitable products and customers right now. This could be very different to what you are historically used to. You can use ads to reach the drive cash flow where there is still a positive return on ad spend for you. This will also mean that you'll maintain equity in your market for when things start returning to normal. Of course, it is going to mean you may need to reset your business goals entirely. So you'll avoid sort of navigating a rudderless ship. It's a good idea to have a sort of frank assessment and think, well, realistically, what should we be targeting right now in order to stay afloat? So if you can set clear goals and metrics, you can start managing how effective you are at reaching them. One way of doing this would be to set up a real-time learning plan, so you can quickly adjust your spend to capture the largest returns and make sure your KPIs are adapted to the situation. And the quality of your data is going to be absolutely paramount here. So use internal and partner data to understand how your customers' behavior has changed. So we at Ignition can provide you with a lot of trend data, key phrase data, conversion data, and of course you'll be building your own internal data by talking to your customers, by understanding which products might be drying up and which you might be able to focus on. So that's the stage of triage. So as we move into assessing, this is looking at investment for short and medium term payback. So we're kind of getting prepared now for recovery in the future. As in a triaging mode, invest your marketing to your most profitable products and customers, but with a medium term outlook, i.e. 3 to 6 months time. It's a really great opportunity to work on what I would refer to as campaign hygiene. So it's a little bit, I suppose, like me walking around my house for the last 2 weeks and looking at all the little jobs that I've just never got round to doing, that I am now in a position to do with my downtime. And I think your brand and your website are obvious places to start giving a bit of TLC, so that you actually emerge when this crisis is over in a stronger position. Bear in mind that customers and consumers are searching for helpful information now more than ever. So how can you help them to access the information and a bit of an arm around the shoulder with your product and service in order to help them get through this? In terms of pivoting, this is where personally I think Ignition is now. Just talking about us, and that's we're understanding slowly how we could shift spend and strategy based on changes to our business model and also to our customer behavior. New customers may be looking for you right now that you'd never even previously considered. And it can take a bit of lateral thinking to think of ways in which you can identify them and also draw them in to the website and draw them to engage with you. So amid quite rapidly shifting media consumption patterns, we need to focus on emerging categories and channels. So this might make you be thinking more about YouTube, for example. You might not have a YouTube channel, you might have never done a video ever, but YouTube has enjoyed a 50% uplift in the last 10 days only in terms of views, and that's an eye-watering number. YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the planet, also owned by Google. Everyone's at home, they're all consuming video media, and we've seen a big upturn in terms of how YouTube has been used for advertisers. So you may have to reimagine how you plan and measure outcomes also in terms of how you sell products, maybe a switch over into building brand equity. Maybe you've got an opportunity to pivot toward e-commerce. Can your product or service be sold in a different way than you've historically done it? Just something to consider. If you were if you're offering a service, and that used to be face-to-face, you'd have clients come to you, visit you in your offices, or you go out to them, perhaps start implementing live chat or booking video calls through your website. So almost an e-commerce model of the customer engaging with you and making that booking online. There are loads of different ways we can start to adapt this strategy, i.e. pivoting towards a new way of doing things. Automation can help, certainly in terms of a lot of the AdWords work that we do. Automation is as close as you can get to real-time changes to customer trends and behavior and differences in key phrase, where you can use dynamic search ads, for example, to help monopolize and adjust to these changes. Or you may be in the fourth category, which is out and out investing. So you're finding new and additional ways to connect with and to help your customers. So as demand increases for product and service, can you provide timely information, i.e. if you're out of stock, when is stock coming back in? Do you have product alternatives? Again, personally, I've been trying to buy a set of dumbbells for about 2 weeks and I can't get any anywhere. Everywhere's sold out. But all on every single site, from Argos to Decathlon to Amazon, who you think would know better, none of them are capturing my details or telling me when they're going to be back in stock, or putting me on a waiting list, or re-engaging with me through email or through social media. And if any one of them had, I would be ordering those dumbbells from them now. As it is, I'm just checking every morning to see if anything's back in stock. So let's have a think about how we can re-engage. Just because you're out of stock doesn't mean you have to miss the opportunity. You could stay on top of consumer trends, update services, be creative, be helpful, be timely with your messaging, and certainly look at different segments with which to target. We're almost going back old school, where if your product has absolutely dried up because it's a legislative reason, for example, you could be in the leisure sector, no one's allowed out anymore, no one therefore is going to buy your product. So are we thinking about a funnel marketing? So, pouring in at the top of the funnel in terms of brand awareness, maybe a switch out to display advertising or remarketing or video. This can help you just stay in mind with your target market for when you do emerge. Your brand is still got sort of healthy real estate with them, and be as nimble as you can in terms of changing trends. A B2B service, but this is now valid for B2C. But maybe you're having to look at reducing average order size as a result, because they've been bought in ones instead of in tens or by the pallet. Maybe conversion rates are changing. Are you offering payment schemes? There are a myriad of different ways that you can innovate in order to react to this changing climate. So there we think broadly, everyone will be in one of these four categories. I think you're going to naturally transition between them as we go. I think it's important to have quite a positive attitude to it where we can. So let's have a look at some of the specifics. So what marketing channels are in fact still open to you? Well, I would argue that they're probably all still open to you, but will just need to be used in a different way. Obviously, a paid search uh, encompasses Google and Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. There are still going to be a number of ways and tactics that you can use this channel to adapt to this changing market and also to continue to bring in opportunities for you. Display advertising is already picking up more traction as some brands look to build brand awareness within there. Remarketing also getting popular, so trying to maximize every click, every visit that you are getting. Video, as I've already said, has seen a massive upturn just in terms of eyes on YouTube, for example. There's organic strategy, i.e. search engine optimization. Now, traditionally, this has been a longer burn, a larger investment in time, as well as a budget in order to build a strong legacy of traffic, start to dominate high areas in Google, so you can start to lessen down on a paid search budget, for example, or continue to use paid to foray into unknown territory. I'm going to talk a little bit in a couple of minutes about how you might be able to sort of shortcut a bit of organic strategy. Certainly, if you've seen your market shrink in terms of paid, where you could siphon some budget over there and still continue to invest it in the website. And then you've got your own social media marketing. A lot of clients that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks have really upped the ante in terms of how they're engaging with their customers through Facebook and through Instagram and through Twitter, which are all totally valid in terms of keeping you in mind with this potential customer base. And most of you who are getting this right are offering really helpful advice. There's a great deal of empathy going on because we are kind of all in this together. As human beings, we're all being touched by this scenario. And some of the more effective ones that I've seen have all sort of tapped into this empathy. I think just quite naturally, which is good to see. You've also got email. So are we further re-engaging? Are we using this opportunity to send out good quality content en masse? If you're e-commerce, are you emailing, as I've already said, for a potential customer that might be looking at something that's out of stock or has populated a basket for something that's out of stock? And also, a very overlooked marketing tactic is actually just to pick up the phone. It's something we're big advocates of here at Ignition. And we've spoken to the majority of our clients already, or someone from the projects team will have done, just to really talk to you and find out, assess the mood, assess how this has impacted you. And it's a great way of building relationships. And of course, it might be a way that you can still continue to do business right now, because you don't have to be solely reliant on the website, particularly if it's a shrinking market. Like I say, it'd be unusual of us under normal circumstances to advocate such a broad range. But then again, we understand that all of these channels can stimulate interactions with the website, interactions with the brand, will stimulate a greater number of searches. So what can you do right now to alter your current strategy? Well, let's try and understand where people are. Our view is that a lot of people are still or have been or are just emerging from what's called watchdog mode. So during a crisis situation, our basic needs have been threatened. So from a psychological perspective, our fight or flight response puts attention in securing these needs first. Okay, so it's about addressing basic safety and security now. So are people healthy? Are their finances protected? what tech have they got in place to continue to interact? Have they got enough food? Have they got home and personal care? What about baby care? It's kind of the bottom of this pyramid. The basic needs is safety, security, and then physiological needs, i.e. food, water, warmth, sleep. So it's important to understand that this is where most people have been or are still in or are just emerging from. And this it actually represents an opportunity for you to tailor your particular strategy to addressing these needs and being of help at this time. As people emerge from it, they'll address sort of a quality of life as the next thing. So brands can play an active part in ensuring that a certain quality of life is achieved in the face of this crisis. So then you're talking at sort of categories of productivity, of self-care, of entertainment, and also human connections. So again, if we understand this, we can start to tailor our strategies to achieving that. So this is where, you know, people are less, they might have sorted a mortgage holiday, they might have the comfort of being furloughed, they know that money is still going to come in, they've got everything settled in the house, the broadband's working. So now we're starting to think again about more lifestyle stuff. So, you know, is it that, you know, I want some yoga pants so I can start doing yoga for Joe Wicks? Is it that I want my dumbbells? Am I starting to look at the house thinking, do you know what, I should maybe think about looking at these French doors, or, you know, looking a bit tatty. What about furniture? What about home office? Suddenly we're starting to go again. I might be thinking right now, well, this would be a good time to write a will, or whatever it may be. People will be emerging. And again, going back to our sectors, let's have a think about how we can tailor our strategy to be in tune with this when it happens. So in terms of what your options are right now, in terms of internet marketing, and what we should be doing now and what we should be doing in the short and long-term future, we'd certainly recommend a paid review. Many of you have already had this with your account execs, and what I mean is a paid search review here. So we can help you to adjust the strategy to cater for short and longer term plans. And remember that on paid, your budget will only be spent if people are still searching for your product or service. So there'll still be potential to spend. The campaign should be in good shape already. The only question mark might be around some of the commercial intent behind some of this search. So this is where it's critical to be really nimble and to talk with your execs about, you know, what could have been, you know, really great stats last month. You might still get all that traffic, but there's no sales on the back of it, or no inquiries, or they're just starting to dry up. This is where we can start being a bit more nimble. So we might consider a switch over into something where we're going to reinforce brand and messaging, like display advertising, for example. Bear in mind that display ads are free unless you attract a click. So you get an enormous amount of brand exposure. But when you do get a click, it tends to be highly targeted. So that could be one area that you consider looking at. There's also a video, which you can talk with our execs about one-to-one. But some of you will have a completely dried up market. So you might have been spending a few grand with Google and Microsoft, that there's just no point spending that right now. This is where you might consider switching budget over to organic growth, so over to an SEO based service. Now, as I say, we would normally advocate a much greater investment in time as well as budget, but there are a few ideas that we have which might well help you, particularly if you've got resource that is not furloughed, that you're looking for things to do yourself, or to give to your marketing people. And this could have a very large impact in terms of reviewing the content on your website and the UX, or the usability of your site. So we could provide a blueprint that will is a bit of a starter pack, really. So we'll look at content analysis, specific page comparisons in relation to competitors, and also how you can improve your existing and historical blog posts. If you're already on board with us with SEO, you'll likely have an advice or resource center up and running already. But this is something to empower you, really, so that you can change and maximize existing content. You'll gain market share from your competitors, many of whom may well be hitting the panic button, doing nothing over this period, kind of sitting there biting their nails. This actually is an opportunity to really get your house in order, so you emerge stronger at the end of it. I just want to show you a quick example of what I mean. Let me just explain what this rather confusing grid is telling us. So what we've got across the top, the circles that start in blue and they go from 1 to 20 is the current top 20 organic ranking sites for the term tridonic ballasts. I've picked an absolute winner there, as I'm sure you can all agree. This is a type of light. Okay, so we've got our client is the very first one, and we're looking. Well, let me just track back a little. We've got the top 20 ranking sites, and the very first one that you have to crane your head to the left to see is our client's page on tridonic ballasts. So the top ranking site is obviously the brand owner, the manufacturer, which is Tridonic. And this is part of our AI tool that gives us the sort of depth of content that Google and the other search engines are looking for. And they deem that you need to cover all the related topics in enough and reasonable depth to have a chance of ranking for this key phrase. So you can see down the left, you've got tridonic ballast, fluorescent lamps, electronic ballast, luminaire. But the thing that should stand out to you is how much red there is on here. So how poorly these topics are covered. Apart from, you can see that the site ranking at number 10 has got a score of 55, which is in blue. So the higher the score, the more relevant the search engines view this page. You can see there's lots of blue and green and yellow there in terms of how detailed they've been on each of these topics. This particular page that is now at ranking at number 10 was not even on the first 10 pages 3 months ago, and it is absolutely ripping through the search engine results pages, and it won't be long before it's occupying a top 3 positions. And you can see why, because they are covering this topic in depth. Now, this sort of work can be done to act as a blueprint for an emerging product or seed key phrase that you might think, well, actually, I could get into that now. Or it can be done on all your main pages, main category pages, main product pages to see how you compare against your competition. Or we can do it on all your blog posts, historical and existing, in order that you can just make some small changes to what's already there in order to gain a lot more traction in the search engine. So this can act as a blueprint. We can do this for you to then go away and produce all this content yourselves, or we can do it all. It very much depends, but this is something to consider if you might be thinking, well, I'm going to drop down a lot of my actual Google spend. This would be a sensible way that you could readjust that spend, reallocate the spend, and your site will emerge a lot stronger. This is like the housekeeping I was talking about. It's like me, dusting on top of the picture frames. We're just going to emerge. It's going to be absolutely immaculate at the end of it. Here's an example for a client. This is a hub approach to just one of their product areas, which is teeth whitening. We started to produce an enormous amount of different types of content that was satisfying the depth required. We did a big competitor analysis piece. We analyzed all the content that was already in existence, and we built this roadmap of where we should be focusing our efforts. And this is the results. As you can see, we started it in October last year, sort of pootled along. Suddenly it gained a load of traction. You can see from December to March, a 400% uplift in 3 months in terms of traffic just around teeth whitening terms. And it's not an insignificant amount of traffic. We're going from 500 roughly to over 2,000 sessions per month. It's a massive increase. And all we did is retweak and start publishing content with a purpose. This is what I was talking about, setting goals earlier, so we're not just steering a bit blindly. And we also improved the UX within some of those pages as well. Let me just show you a very quick example of this, because this is another area that you could be doing right now. I'm just going to show you a quick snapshot of a customer where we changed the layout only on one page of their website. So we looked at it. It was the second most popular product that they had, and it was like the home page for that product. And we looked at it, and just in terms of layout, it wasn't that clear what a lot of the benefits of this product were. There was quite a lot of text. There were different size fonts. It was a bit, the page was a bit busy. They had a really big like hero banner that didn't really say much, and that was taking up a lot of real estate. So we just tweaked it, just took a step back and thought, well, a bit objectively, how might we just make this easier to read for the user, which is therefore going to have a knock-on effect for the search engines. And this is February compared year on year, same page, same content, improved UX, 40% more traffic, and nearly doubled in terms of page value. I'm not sure if you can see that, it's a bit small, but each visitor to this page contributed just under $5 of revenue, having done the UX with traffic, but also got the visitors to contribute just under a tenner of revenue. So we're talking massive differences for a bit of work. You know, it does take a lot of rationale, but something that can be looked at in quite a methodical way. And I think now is a good time in which you could start looking at this. If you're seeing your actual budget within AdWords starting to shrink, or not being able to spend it, or you don't want to spend it because of product. Okay, so that just brings me to a conclusion. Thanks ever so much for listening. I will hang about, like I said, for 5 or 10 minutes if people want to do us just send a few chats in. I've just got to say thanks to Richard, who's already offered me some dumbbells, and he's going to do me a deal on them. So top man, I'll definitely be talking to you about that. So I'll turn off the mic. Stay on the chat. All feedback's welcome. Jamie will be in touch anyway. He'll send you a copy of the proposal. We'll be doing another one within a couple of weeks, I would imagine, as things are going to be changing pretty fast. If you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, either send it in a chat now, or send me an email separately, or talk to your account exec. All right. Thanks very much.